I'm going to explain now the concept of data containers in Application Craft. A data container is effectively a container panel, and there are two types that are relevant here. We've got the data container widget, which is effectively deprecated, so I don't use these from now on, or the panel one. And what we can then do, if we look at the properties here, is we can assign to a data container a data view. So here, for instance, on this second page of our CRUD Companies app, we're displaying contacts, and I want to be able to map my contacts to these individual widgets inside this page. Now there are two ways you can do it. The bad way, the wrong way, would be to set the view up for each of these individual widgets. That would be bad because for each of those it would need to go to the server to retrieve data. The good way is to use the data container. That way we only set up the view once, so it goes to the server just one time for its data, and it then brings its data back, and using the fields property we can map the return data into these individual widgets. So let's click on there and have a look. Labels, there's nothing mapped to those. There we've got the contact name, contact email address, nothing there, and the phone number. And we'll see in a moment how we set a filter on this widget to just give us an individual record of data. So let's go and do that now actually. So if we just click on this grid here, the idea is this would list the contacts, and then the user selects one of the contact from this grid and clicks on it. So here you can see the on-row select event, and here's the event itself. So the first thing we're going to do is to reset or empty these three text widgets that are in that page. Then we're going to get from the grid the selected instance ID, and next we're going to set the filter property of the data container contacts, DC contacts, and the filter we're going to apply is CRUD contacts.instance ID equals the selected instance ID from the grid. Next you have to call refresh data. That then applies that filter, goes and gets another record, record from the database, and displays it in those widgets. So we'll see this working in just a second. Let's go back a page, hit preview, and I can click on Apple. Now I'll click on Manage Contacts, and you can see now I'm going to click on one of these, and that's what it's done. Now the next thing is how do you actually write data back via a data container? We can also do that. Again, let's go to the second page, the contacts page in our CRUD Companies app, and if I selected one of those contacts and then make some modifications in any of these three fields, I can then press the Save button to write the data back to the view. So let's go and find the on-click event. Here it is. And so either it's being pressed, Save button is being pressed because we've just created a new contact, or otherwise it's because we're updating the selected contact. So if it's new, we're going to call the CRUD function, these are described later on in this section of videos, the CRUD function instance create. This is the data container name, and then we've got our callback function. So basically what it's doing is taking the fields that are in that panel, looking where they belong to in terms of the data view, and writing them back on the server. So it's very straightforward. If it's updating, rather than saving a new one, we call instance update, and it does the same thing. So that's hopefully a good introduction to data containers in Application Craft.